Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. Guile here, and welcome back to the Forged Alliance Forever promotional series. It's custom 4v4 magic on the infamous Setons clutch this afternoon. I haven't labelled it as an epic, but it's still going to be worthwhile nonetheless, so looking forward to that. First of all, some information coming in from Roe, a little bit of news. The association has created a campaign team to focus on all of the co-op and mission development PvE element of FAF with Resistance as the lead, so looking forward to that. A new major website redesign as well. We're featuring technical hurdles and whatnot have been completed or are beer completion. I think that's meant to be near completion, but we'll call it beer completion because that sounds fun. So it's just content filling as styling, I guess, that is needed to be done. Balance update coming soon from the balance team with Tagada as lead. That's very exciting. That's worth a little sneak peek, so let's check that out. Sure, there's no viruses on the FAF forum, so thank you for your warning anyway, Discord. What have we got here? So tractor beams on the Galactic Colossus. These never really did function. I beg to differ. Many a poor Percival as I've seen getting sucked up by one of these bad boys, and not in a good way. But soon they will, and they're working on it. If you want to check that out, you've got a little GitHub link there, and they'll see some previews for the working behavior and an attached video, so do check that out. What have we got here as well? Tactical missile defenses. This one worries me a little bit. They've always felt a little bit underwhelming. Yes and no. I can hear people now, actually. They're saying, Guile, you're a UEF fanboy, you're surely all about the turtle. To a certain extent I am, but I'm also a massive fan of missile-based aquatic weaponry, and these vessels will have no utility if they can't go marauding up and down the coastline bombarding bases, because let's face it, you're not going to do great targeting armies with these things. So I'm hoping they don't overbuff the TMD and basically make these things redundant. But I'm sure they'll be doing any changes sensitively, and so we don't have to worry about it. Game results, apparently there was a problem with game results not showing. They're going to fix that, which is awesome. Projectiles that hit but miss, didn't even know this was a problem. We did have that problem, I think it was last cast, was it? It might have been the Patreon cast, or maybe it was the YouTube cast, where Cerberus turret, which was inside shield coverage, still managed to die. Some people in the comment section thought it was potentially splash damage that was registering nearby because it was right on the edge of the shield. I don't know. This isn't that anyway. That was a nice little tangent I just went on. This is something completely different, but apparently there are lots of situations where projectiles hit or collide with a unit, they do no real damage. That's apparently been a problem that's going to get fixed, which is awesome. And range rings and performance, and this is something that directly affects large groups of aircraft, and I'm hoping as well, we still haven't seen a really big air battle since the last few changes. Historically, it's always been a problem in FAF. When you have massive air battles, you get this horrible stutter lag because of the sheer computational power required for all of the projectiles. I guess I'm not a tech guy, as you guys well know. But apparently that was fixed. Looking forward to test that today. If they have a large air battle, you imagine on Setons they will. But apparently this was also a problem. When you just select things, you have all of the information rings, the radars, that sort of stuff. That was also creating FPS lag. That's going to get fixed too. Awesome. Right, that's enough of all of that. If you want to go and check any of that out, remember it's all on the forums. Do so at your leisure. It's going to be Setons Clutch, as we said, custom 4v4. I'm ready, you guys are ready, and players are sure as hell ready. So let's go on over to the game zone and see how they're going to get on. Ching! Ka-ching! Instant loading. It's going to be a good day. We'll call this Team 1 up here at the top because why not? And this Team 2 down here at the bottom. Going first for Team 1, rearguard air position. It's Haka Maka 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 Maka. And yes, I'm well aware that's not how it's pronounced, but you come here for a specific set of reasons at Guilecast, and me mispronouncing or butchering people's names is one of them. So that's just not going to change. It's Hakamaka. And he is going UEF. He's going Baby Pink and opening first land. Down here on the beach, next up, we've got the rather insensitively named CQE35R, or CQ as we'll be referring to him today. He's going Aeon in Elephantine Grey, opening first land. On the causeway for Team 1 in Baby Blue, we've got Glagol, and he's also going UEF, opening first and second land. And last but not least, for Team 1 over here in Electric Blue, it's the winner of this week's Amusing Name Award in Aeon, opening first air. It's Mr. Rashi Pants. There we go. So that's Team 2. Let's check out Team 1. Sorry, let's check out Team 2 rearguard air position to begin with. Down here we have Mad Ent going Aeon, how very sensible for an air position in Regal Purple opening first land. Up here on the cliffs for Team 2, I almost want to give him a joint ward for a amusing name. It's Meat Missile. There he is. He's going UEF in Pontiff White, opening first land, second air. On the causeway for Team 2, already on his way towards the center, it's Accidental Aeon. That's so accidental he went UEF instead in Burgundy Red, opening first land, and unsurprisingly for a causeway player, going land all day. And last but not least, down here at the beach for Team 2, it's Dave. There he is, Dave. That's spelling unusual, I'm sure, but that's actually how you spell Dave in Sanskrit, which is his native language. There he is. He's going UEF in Ferrari Red, opening first land, second air. Game quality at 93%. We're pretty happy with that. Racial differences: 2 UEF and 2 Aeon on Team 1, and 3 UEF and 1 Aeon on Team 2. So it's an all UEF and Aeon affair. That is acceptable. And highest rated player today, unsurprisingly, Hakamaka, who I always believe is Yudi, the well-known long-time favorite here at FAF, and he's up at 2300 there. You can see it. I'm not going to highlight it because you can hardly see the writing when I do it, but if you hang over just to the left there, you can see I'm pointing next to it. 2300 rated player, and then he's got an 1100 there, Mr. Rashi Pants. That is arguably the weak link, but only a 1200 in CQ. So in fact, both sides of the causeway, it's a little bit vulnerable there for Team 1, but Glagol and 1300 for the middle, and it's a very condensed field in terms of ability on Team 2. It's 1400s across the board, except for the air player who's facing off, of course, against Yudi. It's Mad Ent. He's on 1500, which Guilecast, of course, we consider to be pro level. What's going on here? Saucy little run by from a scout there from Accidental Aeon, who tore straight up the middle across that causeway, trying to get somewhere important and learn of secret goings on behind enemy lines. Got himself blapped, but perhaps got some interesting intel nonetheless. What's going on here? Glugol dropping back and potentially allowing more of the reclaim here in the center to fall into Accidental Aeon's hand than he should have. None of the Salems have been scooped yet, but as we've discovered before, it actually makes most sense to scoop up the Titan Rex and the T3 Rex, which are littered in the center first before transitioning to those Salem Rex. That actually nets you a better return. Who knew? Well, we did, because we've done it all before. We've been here many times before. Mr. Rashi Pants needs to grab that last core mechs. Currently upgrading everything, but it's on pause. Probably going to use engineers to finish those off. I like what I'm seeing here. So we've got a bomber lying in wait. Rashi Pants has potentially been a little bit slow getting to grips with his expansion. You can already see, if you look over on Team 2 side of things, we've got a transport from Meat Missile going across to that side island on the left-hand side, but no transport going the other way. We already have a T1 bomber lying in wait for Dave to come and kill off any engineers that might be offloaded, but no engineers have emerged as yet. Is he working on transport? Yes, he is. About 60% done on that transport, that chariot, but that bomber got bored of waiting, so it's going to go and roam and look for other targets. Engineer there, but not particularly important. Perhaps it will go deep and try and harass Yudi a little bit. How many engineers got dropped off on the side island for Meat Missile? Well, we've got 2, one up at the top and one down at the bottom, but the transport's continuing on, which makes me very happy in pants. What have we got here? We've still got 4 engineers in that transport for Meat Missile, and he's already got a scout over a potential landing zone. You can see the ferry command has been issued, so he wants to drop those 4 engineers right off amongst this trio of mass points down here. There's one hostile engineer lying in wait. We'll trek back in on that in just a second. It's all kicking off in the center between Accidental Aeon and CQ. 2 groups of spam roll past one another. Did he successfully make the drop? Yes, he did. What are the engineers going to get to work on? Please say he's paying attention. Yes, he is. There's nothing worse than people orchestrate a drop, do everything right, get into enemy territory, and then forget to issue commands to their successfully dropped troops. It makes me sad every time. But none of that here. Meat Missile on the ball, gets straight to work on a Tech 1 point defense that's going to incinerate that T1 NG along with the radar he just built, and now It's going to finish off the rest of those mechs while the engineers get some land factories up and running. How quick is the response going to be from CQ? He hasn't got any offensive units in play nearby, although he does have one land factory conveniently placed, I guess, as part of the meta, warding off against the potential incursion over here. It makes sense just to have one factory so you can start churning out some kind of offensive units, and that's what he's doing. Scooping out some fervours over towards that cliff edge up here, but by the time he gets there, there's going to be at least 2 land factories operational. Going to have to worry about that plasma cannon as well. Try and get that battered down first. Back to the middle now, where things are kicking off. CQ in trouble. He's brought his comm all the way to the center, and he's down to 2,200 hit points. Accidental Aeon, by contrast, still looking very perky on 9,000 hit points. CQ's going to have to make a play for the water here. He's pretty much out of Accidental Aeon's range. Glargol still going toe-to-toe with Aeon over here. Accidental Aeon down into the yellow, 8,200 hit points there. Glargol on 9,600. CQ out of harm's way. But will his intervention there have bought Glargol enough room to secure the midpoint? That's the question. Accidental Aeon not content to back up away from that mass as yet. Most of the mass has been hoovered up so far. What are we looking at in terms of reclaim? Accidental Aeon's pulled in 6.1. Glargol's actually pulled in 7.5. So despite the fact he was a little bit slow to the center, he has managed to scoop the lion's share of the mass in the center. Nice formation set up there for Accidental Aeon. That will work well for him under this forward pressure from Glargol. Accidental Aeon on 7,200 hit points now on that commander. Content to just sit still and take the fire as it comes, but he's about to get a new rank in veterancy, which will give him some more HP. Brings him back up to just shy of 7,000. But the pressure is pretty relentless here from Glargol, so he's going to continue to back up. And while we've been chatting, I think it's worth saying that Mr. Rashipad's never even made a play for that side island, I don't think, by the looks of things. And as a result, Dave happily colonized it, already has 1 naval yard and up and running, and is working on 4 more, and has 2 land factories, has got some point defense, and no doubt will have some anti-air firepower on there as well before too long. Interceptors getting toasted by a Tech 2 Swift Wind there from Rashipants, circling. That will help secure the skies over his main base. T2 upgrade on the way for CQ. He's repped up a little bit already, back up out of the red, 3,100 hit points there. But of course, when that engineering suite completes, he will be faring much better. But look out, Accidental Aeon in major difficulties here, down to 200 hit points and still inbound fire. Glargol now pressing the advantage, sensing blood, but he's running out of T1 spam to assist. Glargol on 7,400 hit points. Aeon making a play for the water, and I think he might get there. Glargol backing off slightly in the face of all of this T1 spam that's coming his way. Aeon said, no, I don't like the look of that, probably fearful of some T1 subs or something creeping up on him while he's in the water. Instead, he's going to back up down the causeway towards his main base. Not a terrible decision considering the turn the center battle took. Glargol now backing up towards his side of the water up here on about half health. That's 6,100 HP as we cross the 10-minute threshold in this game. Goodness me, how's the battle for the top going? We're now up to 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 land factories for Meat Missile and a decent amount of ground force as well. He's also got its own air coverage detail up here, though needs to be a little bit careful. We've got these thistles lying in wait down here, taking pot shots of planes as they fly overhead. We've now also got some more land factories that have gone up recently from CQ, and that's why we're starting to see a much larger contingent of Auroras battling against these Lobos and Strikers. The thing is, of course, though, with all of this activity going on at the top of the screen, is this going to set CQ behind the battle in the pond, or behind the curve, if you will? Apologies if you can hear my children having a tantrum in the background there. It doesn't seem to be too much of a problem for him at the moment, because so far Meat Missile hasn't even dipped a toe into the water yet. Not a single naval yard under construction, let alone built. And that's what happens sometimes when you've wrapped up all of your APM in some major offensive drop play right at the top. So weirdly enough, this might not actually work out that well for him. We're already seeing some T1 subs from CQ reach his opponent's coastline down here. If he can get a critical mass of those up, he might be able to shut Meat Missile out of the naval play altogether. Checking in on the side island over in the east, we've got a little bit of inbound pressure brought to bear from Mr. Rashy Pants. Those frigates, about 5 of them left, causing a bit of problems, has inflicted some damage on one of the naval yards over here. He had actually queued up 2 more, I believe. Maybe the engineer was destroyed or he decided not to build them. But nonetheless, he has got 3 operational naval yards in play. Not too shabby. And of course, they will be churning out vessels right on Mr. Rashy Pants' doorstep. Mr. Rashy Pants also has 3 of his naval yards of his own right here at this little mini beach section. He's also got another one slightly further up the coast. So he is ahead by 1 naval yard on that portion of the map. Although, of course, there's another one down here for Dave. So it's even Stevens in terms of total naval yard count there in that bottom pond. What's been going on the causeway? Meanwhile, where has Accidental Aeon gone? Well, pretty fearful after that initial encounter. He's repped up somewhat, back up to 3,400 hit points, but he's getting his big, shiny metal backside out of there. He had managed to set up a very nice forward fire base right up front, but it's under sustained pressure right now from Glargol. However, we have got T1 point defense and several units of T2 complete now, and unless he can take down that shield coverage, he definitely doesn't stand a chance. And I think he realizes that. The shield does go down, but it's too little too late. The rest of those T1 units will roll on out of danger, but take a lot of casualties in the process. Glargol has his own emplacements up. A little bit of a point defense creep going on here. Currently 4 triads operational and another one going up just beneath it. Are we going to see some artillery emplacements? We do have a couple of T2 engineers for Accidental Aeon, 3 to be precise. So he has got Tech 2 build capacity. If he wanted to go down that route, he can, but he hasn't got a lot of build power, so to speak. What is going on here? CQ looking immensely confident as he trundles across the seabed with his commander and no support whatsoever. He is marauding up and down the coastline here with some T1 subs and a couple of frigates, or a frigate and an attack boat. This is very interesting. Maybe he just wants to get over here. He's got a T2 engineering suite. Maybe we're going to see some aggressively placed naval yards to properly shut this down and bring major pressure to bear against the cliffs. I don't think I've ever seen this from a Setons player. Such devotion to a drop, which incidentally has not worked out well in the long run. CQ ultimately has overrun this position. Last of the factories about to go down there. And now he's completely devoid of any navy, and unless he can surreptitiously build one up down here, he is really going to struggle. He has queued 1 naval yard up over here. He's working on a couple of torpedo launchers, first of all, to give it some cover. But this is, yeah, this is dangerous stuff from him. What's his generated eco like? 127. Compare that to CQ, who's actually only on 54, and that is a legit reading. Of course, the cliffs do have a larger access to mass than the beach positions. So the beach is always at a deficit, but it's not that naturally large. Nice little drop inbound from Accidental Aeon. That transport came under fire just at the moment that it managed to offload its units. Oh, but he didn't spread out. Mr. Rashy Pants, quick to respond with his commander, overcharges all but 2 of them and then finishes those off with his main cannon. They did, however, manage to take down 2 of his core T2 mass extractors, so that will hurt. What's he on now in generated mass? Well, he's down to 61. In terms of generated mass overall, look at that differential. 621 mass per tick for Team 2 versus 458. Highest generating player in terms of mass, though, unsurprisingly, Yudi. We haven't heard much from him. He's sat at the back, as air players on Setons do. And he's just teching up and pumping out air superiority fighters till he gets to a point where he's got a reasonable number. And then I'm sure he will unleash the beast. But you can see the number of air factories queued up there, ready to cause all sorts of problems. Speaking of problems, we've now got some torpedo bombers harassing these naval yards at that side island for Dave, but nowhere near enough to take those down. A nice little group of frigates subs harassing these frigates. The only thing they've got to worry about is this destroyer over here. They've put some serious damage on that already. It's down to 850 hit points. Maybe those torpedo bombers helped with that, but if they can take those out, you'll have no way to hit back at those subs until, of course, the next destroyer completes, which it looks like it might be about to, although that might be a governor cruiser. No, that is another destroyer. Need to work on my icons. Naughty Guile, you should have that down by now. What's going on here? Saucy little drop inbound from CQ. Looks like 4 Tech 2 engineers. And that is going for the side island over here. It's going to get scouted on its way in, but there are no air units loitering nearby to shoot this down. So those engineers should make landfall, and that will be a lot of build capacity compared to the T1 engineers down here. There's no point defense T1 or T2 lying in wait to counter this. So if he's paying attention, he should be able to get some point defense down. Go straight for a T2. Interesting. I would have gone for a T1 first. Starts work on the T2 and then changes his mind. Very sensible decision, sir. I like your thinking. Get that up and running first. Maybe even a couple of them, and then start to work on the slower to produce, more expensive, high damage Tech 2 versions. And look at that. Opening up now on the positions. Thwarted by a hill. Those pesky hills often getting in the way. Look at that little bit of terrain flattening off there. That's actually done meat missile no end of favors. Wouldn't have been intentional, of course, but it's worked out well nonetheless. T3 upgrade on the way for Glargol, 30% there. And once, of course, that's done, he'll be able to throw down some Ravagers, and then this forward base, I imagine, for Accidental Aeon really will be toast. Accidental Aeon, who has his toe dipped in the water down here. He is putting out a decent amount of mass. He's putting out 176. You compare that to CQ and Rashipants, the two water-based dwellers on Team 1. They're still in double digits, 74 and 79. So despite the fact there's not a huge amount going on from Accidental Aeon, he is putting out some decent mass numbers. Glargol slightly, just a little bit behind him on 152. No upgrades as yet on Accidental Aeon's comm. And there are the torpedo launchers. Interestingly, no naval yards going up there as yet, but I'm sure we'll probably see some of those in the near future. And here we go. Shield gen, radar, and then I'm sure we'll see those point defenses become more numerous, and no doubt they will shut down these naval yards over here. Having lambasted Meat Missile earlier on for the lack of naval yards, he's been pretty busy. We've got a T2 HQ down here, a regular T2 up at this other beach, and then of course those 3 T1s on or just off that side island. But look out, Yudi now getting involved, brings out his ASFs to screen for some broadsides who come in to immediately start dishing out the pain against these governors. Down they go, and the destroyers will be next. Mr. Rashipants was taking some fire there, so he'll be happy for that assistance. Let's check out ASF numbers to see who's faring better so far between our two air players. Yudi is on 56 and Mad Ent is on 30, so a definite advantage there for Team 1. If ever Team 1 needed some assistance, it was now. Although, having said that, yes, as we've said, the two pond players are well down on mass production. Yes, Dave managed to get the sideline over here, And Mr. Rashi Pants has been in a bit of trouble, but ever since that drop didn't work out for Meat Missile up here, he's actually been behind in the top pond from CQ. Nice little drop over here, still working out as soon as that point defense completes. Well, if it's allowed to. No, I think it will. There we go. Just saw some Lobo shells coming in from up here. Shield down to about 50%. If that went down, that could have been the end of those engineers and the end of this little incursion. Is the profile high enough, though, on this Oblivion turret? This might still get shut down, you know. Shield gen about to buckle. I can't believe this. All because the profile didn't allow the fire to connect with that land factory. They're starting to work on their own land factory now. Down goes the shield. They do complete the land factory crucially. They probably want to start moving those engineers out of harm's way. Indeed they do. Nice little battle going in on that side island. But look at this. The naval counterpunch we've been waiting for from Meat Missile, who pumped out a whole ton of Tiger Sharks and is now going after the T2 Naval HQ of CQ up here at the top by his main base. It's already down to about 60% health. Dave still holding on firm to that side island. How is the ASF and broadsword count going? Look at that for UD. Wow. Tons and tons of air staging facilities. And who says nobody ever builds those? The pros build those. That's who builds them. He's up to 102 ASFs. He has doubled his holdings since we last checked. Broadswords down here. He's got some 7. If he can hold on to the air advantage or even increase it, he'll be able to dish out some serious pain with those gunships. This is the player that Team 2 need to worry about. Global ranking so far in excess of anything that Team 2 can display. Definitely what they need to be concerned about. No major developments going down there for Dave on the side island. And we do have a T3 naval yard down here for Accidental Aeon. He's paused construction with the naval yard itself, but has engineers working on that. Oh, so he didn't go straight for some Ravager creep, as I thought he might. No, he's surreptitiously building a whopping great big fat boy on the seabed down here. And that will definitely be a surprise for that front line. And there's not a lot else going on down here for Accidental Aeon. Is he even spending his mass? Well, he was floating a tiny bit. Needs to get his energy production under control. Lacking behind somewhat on that side of things. But look out! UD bringing those gunships to bear, going straight after this T3 Naval HQ. Oh, and that is so nearly built as well, that vessel. In come the air superiority fighters from Mad Ent, but he's definitely under-furnished with the numbers of fighters that he needs. Down goes the naval yard. And is that a thing? Because it's over 75%, the vessel doesn't go down with the thing? I'm sure that was still being worked on. Or did it take damage and it was just being repaired? I don't know what happened there. Answers in the comment section if that was a glitch or that is now a feature or I just completely mistook the situation. That's two crazy things in 2 casts. But nonetheless, Accidental Aeon gets to hold on to that Neptune-class battlecruiser, which he'll be happy about because he's about to lose his main base to gunship attack. Down goes one of his fusion reactors. The next one is under pressure. The broadswords that are left are very heavily damaged, but they do stick around long enough to be able to finish off that second reactor. What's that done to Accidental Aeon's power grid? Well, nothing good is the answer. He is now negative net power. Gonna need to get that under control. If I were he, and I'm not, I would be working on some stuff back here, but that's gonna help him. A RAS completed on his comm. Has that sorted out his problems? Sort of. It's doing some weird Strange sclerotic action there, but I think it has largely sorted the problem. But the Fat Boy completed. This is a whole new set of problems for him. Down goes the shield. It was never going to hold up against that. Down goes the radar and everything else now that was under that forward position. It is toast, so to speak. UD properly opening a can of smacked bottom on his opponents with his marauding groups of gunships and air superiority fighters. T3 on the way in the back for Mad Ent, who is somewhat off the pace, I think, in terms of air factories. Let's just have a look at where we are with T3 air factories. So 4 regular T3 air factories. Actually, if we zoom out, he's got some others up front. So he's got 9 air factories, 10 if you include the HQ factory. Let's compare that to UD, who has 17, 18 presumably if you include a air factory headquarters. So UD with double the air build capacity. This is taking rather a bad turn if you're rooting for Team 2, a team who's up 300 to 400 mass per tick. They are up 790k to 1 million mass in total mass accrued, and yet it's not looking great on the actual strategy side of things. All the indicators are less than bullish. UD now with a 3.01 kill to loss ratio. Bringing gunships to bear on all of the relevant targets in that bottom pond. Top pond pressure has been released on meat missiles somewhat. CQ has dropped all the way back here with his commander. I think that's sensible. Last thing you want is some epic torpedo bomber snipe attempt coming out from Team 2's air player, especially with them playing Aeon. You could get those T3 torp bombers. That will end your game real quick. Broadswords moving in on Dave's naval yards up here. They're going to stick around and finish off that T3 naval yard. They're taking a lot of inbound fire from T1 anti-air emplacements over here. Lots of railguns from Dave. Some 29 of them in this region on this side island. Broadswords are very tanky though, and they are weathering the storm well enough to whittle down this naval HQ. And there it goes, and I'm sure this time it will lose that vessel it's working on. Indeed it does. I really would like to know the answer to what happened down here. You can see that Neptune still very much alive. And while we're focusing in on this portion of the map, props to Glargol, who is steaming into the main base of Accidental Aeon with his heavily shielded Fat Boy. This not looking good at all for Team 2. They've lost the doorway to the causeway. Although Fat Boy going to have to withdraw, I think. There's so many inbound T1 bombers. Where is UD? Well, he's recognized the danger, but can he get there in time to keep the Fat Boy alive? The answer, nah. Not going to happen. Down to some 1,400 hit points. Maybe I spoke too soon. No, it is going to go down, surely. Valiant effort, but wasn't enough. Fat Boy does go down, but importantly, Accidental Aeon's main base has been crippled. He's still putting out 124 mass per tick, helped in no small part, of course, to that RAS upgrade on his commander. large fleet of Exodus-class destroyers rolling up on this other fleet down here of Valiants, but that's heavily shielded and has a couple of T3 battleships, and now soon to have its own battle cruiser as well. There is no way this little Aeon fleet is going to win in this encounter. I'm telling you that right now. UEF destroyers wisely moving up to engage, and the Aeon vessels wisely dispersing and withdrawing. Definitely can't repel firepower of that magnitude. It ain't happening. RAS upgrade 92% complete for Mr. Rashy Pants, who's not actually faring too badly now. Lowest output players in terms of mass production are CQ over here, who's putting out just over 202, and Accidental Aeon, of course, who's a main base just got obliterated by that fat boy. He's putting out about 150, so off the pace ever so slightly. Hakamaka, what have we got here? Look, this is how much mass and energy is in those fighters for Hakamaka. 340 ASFs, a cost of 121,000 mass, and in terms of broadswords, 28,500 at 19 broadswords. That's a lot of mass. How is his kill-loss ratio looking? Well, it's dropped somewhat down to just below 2. Compared that to Mad Ent, though, who's on 0.47. That's where you want to be, man. You want to be on Team 1 looking at that. A nuke out from Dave. Where's that going? Sailing up the middle. Is it going to drop on top of Gluggle? Taking out this base will help readdress the balance somewhat. Still waiting for some massive air fight to kick off properly. I probably missed a few already. Had lots of people saying, Guile, you're slowing down. You missed all of the action last time. I did say in the comments, humbly, that is nothing new. Guile has always missed stuff. Oh, they're thinking about it. Mad Ent, though, really doesn't want to be thinking about it. 261 seems a lot, but he's facing off against 373. And yeah, I don't know if it's still a 2-to-1 advantage Hakamaka has in terms of air factories, but certainly able to replenish quickly. And look at that. First proper naval incursion we've seen from Team 1 against Dave at the side island for a while. We've also got an Omen-class battleship who's bombarding the island at range. I don't think Dave's going to be able to hold on to that for very much longer. He does have some assistance back here from Accidental Aeon, but he needs those to be brought up. At some point, Mad Ent's going to have to get involved because Yudi is just stacking more broadswords all the time, and he's going to start to bring those to bear if he wants to assist his teammates at all and keep those ground targets of theirs alive. He's going to have to bring in those air superiority fighters and trade them for the gunships. He's not making the decision to yet. That's a couple more mass extractors up front for Accidental Aeon that have gone down, but he's still slowly climbing in mass generation. From where we saw him last time, he's up to 182 mass per tick, so he's not doing terribly. Broadswords flying overhead, couple more cruisers bite the dust. Oh, look at these battle cruisers which are now stranded. There's not much that Team 2 can do about it. Mad Ent reluctant to get involved. He does not think he can win that air fight. Unless something's changed dramatically since we last checked the numbers, I don't think he can. Atlantis needs to submerge. That's getting unnecessary fire. There it goes, but it's taken a lot of damage. Down to about a third of its health. Maybe just under. Another battle cruiser down for Meat Missile. And they're starting to really drive a wedge now between the remnants. I don't know if I call it remnants, but the majority of Team 2's fleet in the bottom pond and that side island. And look at that wolf pack of Vespers there from Mr. Rashi Pants. We have another nuke, though, out from Dave. Didn't even focus in on where that last one landed. It did go after Glargol's front base. Didn't annihilate everything. Those mexes, though, have probably been rebuilt. Experimental completed for Hakamaka. What's that? Where has he built it? Aha, it's in the ocean over here. He's working on Atlantis spam. This nuke inbound for Mr. Rashi Pants. Didn't manage to build himself an anti-nuke. Now his cheeks are really red. Lol. Loses his core mass, but still has a lot of infrastructure in play over here. And we're still waiting for this almighty air battle that's going to kick off. I'm juiced, I'm amped for it. But the longer it's put off, the more of these ships are going to succumb to broadsword pressure. Mad Ent has a real collection now, though. 417, that's pretty good. 436, some stragglers not yet in the pack, versus 456. Numbers are pretty comparable right now. A good engage for either side could swing this air battle, and it is now kicking off. And check out the amount of lack of slowdown. No stutter lag whatsoever. FAF devs, I commend you for your ingenuity. They tangle. Yes, there's been another nuke. We'll take a look at that maybe on the mini-map where it collides. We really want to see what comes out here. Well, it looks like UD might have had the better engage. Maybe, perhaps, Mad Ent switched to the gunships. There's still a few gunships in there. Ooh, I think that nuke got shot down. Yeah, there is an anti-nuke in play. I think Glargol learnt his lesson after absorbing the last nuke. Shot that one down, but wow. So, Mad Ent's Air Force obliterated. Hakamaka still has 211 air superiority fighters. Mad Ent, producing more all the time, is on 36, though. And with that engagement, these broadswords can now just wail away on these naval units, free of charge, free from interference, more or less. The bottom pond has gone better for Team 2. It looked like Dave was about to lose the side island. We had a wolf pack of Vespers down here causing all sorts of problems. That's been either pushed back or dealt with in the intervening period. And now it's just mass T1 naval spam being brought to bear from Accidental Aeon, who's got a whole bunch of T2 naval yards over here. Very interesting battle, this. But UD, I think, is about to show you just how deadly an air player of his skill can be once he has won air. Or did I speak too soon? No. Baiting those ASFs in, saying, you want to fight? I'll give you a fight. And he did want to fight. What's he focusing on? It's hard to tell. Is he just trying to deplete Hakamaka's numbers? Though he is making a play for the gunships. Took down a few of them. But not enough to make any massive difference. Now, there are banks of SAM sites further down here. Hakamaka's going to want to be careful loitering around those.
Strategic launch detected.
Another nuke out from Dave. Where's this one going? It looks like it's going up the center once again. And we already have another anti-nuke loaded, so that's probably going to get shot down. Keep an eye on that, whilst we also keep an eye on this. There's the anti-nuke shooting the nuke down. on the mini-map. Oh, and he spotted accidental Aeon's comm all outside by his lonesome. Our first casualty of the game at 40 minutes in. It's accidental Aeon, the upfront player, but he didn't die on the causeway as they are often prone to do. Instead, it was right at the back by his teammate's base near Mad Ent. It's funny he wasn't off over here in safer territory. But alas, was not to be. Those gunships now move on to the main base of Mad Ent. Can he shoot them down? Chain reaction here would be absolutely brutal. He's taken out the mass fabricators around the mass extractors. The core mass is still intact, although damaged. It's moving on to some other vulnerable and volatile targets from the mass fabs down here. And the gunships are depleted. Out go the ASFs, though. And of course, it won't be long, I'm sure, but before we have another set of gunships to bring to the fight. Yudi just pumping out support commanders now. Look at the mass totals on generated eco. Hakamaka Yudi pulling in 1.1k. Next highest rated, or next highest mass producer is Mad Ent on 800. Dave saying, can we quit? He knows it's over. I think it probably is. Meat Missile definitely knows it's over as he absorbs battleship fire from just off his coast. His base is in tatters. 4 Omen-class battleships rolling into the bay now, and there's nothing he can do about it. His navy was obliterated largely because of those gunships. Oh! 700, he's accepting his fate. And yeah, I think it's fair to say Team 2 are done. And look, they produced 300,000 more mass than Team 1 did. But that's what happens when you get someone like Yudi. And here comes the Control K. Control K for Mad Ent. A nuke out from Dave, and he's nuking himself by the looks of things. Where's that going? Taking a big loop. Never want to leave a missile in the silo when you can kill yourself more dramatically. And there it is. Cytheria isn't Brazilian. Interesting mention of a porn actress there out of nowhere. Not sure what that's about. Answers in the comment section below if you were following that one. Keep it clean if you like, and if you don't, well, just don't. Hope you enjoyed it, guys. I think you can see there why I didn't label it an epic. It wasn't quite epicosity standards. We didn't have major toys. We didn't have huge quantities of experimentals. But it was an interesting little Setons nonetheless. And it was a clean sweep from Team 1, who were well behind in terms of mass and general eco for much of that. And they were definitely short stacking on global rating in both the ponds. Props to CQ, who managed to hold off over here and hold off that drop, incidentally, up at the top. Meat Missile went pretty large on that, but he actually ended up turning that to his advantage initially. And of course to Mr. Rashi Pants, not only for his wonderful name, but also because of, well, just managing to hold on, quite frankly. Yes, he got some assistance there from Glugol, who didn't have a whole lot else to do once he'd won the causeway. But yeah, interesting stuff. Hope you enjoyed it, guys. Don't forget, more to come from me in the future. And don't forget the Patreon. I think we've got some 58 casts up there now. Premium content's not coming to YouTube. And I've seen one or two people complaining about the amount of ads on YouTube. Well, guess what? All of the Patreon casts come ad-free. That's right. So if you want some ad-free premium content, it's a mere $1 a month. That's nothing, especially these days with inflation being what it is. What do you spend $1 on, eh? Hey! Come on, does it even buy you a chocolate bar in the States anymore? Or a candy bar, as you guys would say it. Anyway, do consider it because it is the best way to help me, guys. Hope you enjoyed it. More to come from me in the future. But until next time, stay well and stay safe. This is Guile, signing out.